Well, welcome back. We are in part 2 of this interview with Wild and Rome, Emily and Dryden here. If you watch part 1, that was more geared towards like couples and just, working with video and photo teams that way. But now we're getting in the nitty gritty of the vendor side of these things and working together and the good, the bad, the ugly.
I love that
We're
phrase,
getting into
nitty
it.
gritty. I don't know why. I just love that. I
Nitty-gritty.
love using
It's a good
that
phrase.
Nitty gritty.
And it sounds good on the microphone too.
Yes, it does.
It's
But
very, very podcast of you.
Well, thanks. But yeah, so we are gonna get into it. I just really want to hear. We're gonna start off with some heavy red flags
let's
that
do
you
it.
guys have, and we're gonna share from photo perspective. Maybe I'll share. I mean, you do both. But maybe share more on the video side because I have lots of photographer friends who are ready for this episode. I want to hear red flags, pet peeves, even. Like, let's start. We're gonna go heavy.
Let's do it. Just like working with photographers in general.
Yeah, like on the wedding day,
Sure.
or even like post or before wedding. Like,
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a long list if that's okay.
oh, I'm ready. I want to learn.
I mean, from the get-go, I'd say not connecting and touching base at the beginning of the day. Like if we're both there, or maybe we're setting up some tripods or stuff, you show up, you grab the details, and you just start shooting. And we haven't said hi, we haven't touched base.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times the goal, at least for us, when we're doing just video, is to be hand in hand with the photographer.
Right.
A lot of times we'll actually get there about 30, 45 minutes earlier, get the drone out of the way. That way, the rest of the stuff that we're going to do can be done right next to the photographer. So that way we are going to be hand in hand the whole day. So if you just get started right off the bat without us, it sets a bad tone for the rest of the day, I'd say.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's happened to us before, and we look at each other and we're like, oh boy, this is gonna be a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like for me, I'm thinking like, why would I even do that? One, I would probably go get the stuff, but I would still go say something. Like if I see the video team, I always like, oh, is that the video? Oh yeah, they have the drone. Like, oh, let's go introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's just, I don't know, Southern politeness maybe. I don't know, but I agree with that. That's a good one.
And then I'd say this next one is going to seep into a lot of our examples. But like, let's say we get together, we start shooting details, hovering over the detail set, taking your pictures, and then cleaning it up and putting it away, without even letting.
Is it not clear that we need to get a shot too at all?
Yeah.
There's literally no chance.
Yeah, I think it's really dangerous to assume that videographers can just get the shot they need around whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and apply that to everything. Apply that to portraits. Apply that to details. Apply that to so many things.
Yeah.
To assume that the video is able to just. Some people are that great, and that's awesome. I love those guys. Good for you. I am not that person, and we need just as much FaceTime with the subject, the couple, the details, whatever, as you do. To get that shot. It'd be like me taking a bunch of detail photos and saying, okay, you just kind of get whatever you need on the side while I'm filming it, and you'd be like, well, I can't just use that. I need time with the details. So.
Right. Well, and I've even come across like some videographers that I'm like, hey, I have this up. Like, you feel free to move things around. Like, get creative. You don't have to keep what I had necessarily. But I've even had some. They're like, ew, I'm not using that. I don't ever use that. I'm like,
why do you have to say it out loud?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, like I have just like, okay, well, this
It's all
day's gonna be
personal
fun.
preference. It's all style choices.
Absolutely.
I mean, you don't have to include the details. I mean, it's not crucial, but I think it adds a little bit of flair and interest to it.
Absolutely. I mean, even along with that, then placement. We're doing the dresses, and we're hanging the dress or doing whatever we're doing.
That's probably the most negotiation that you have to do all day. Is like, where do we hang the dress? Where do we do details? Otherwise, you can move the couple around. You could go do a different spot if you want to. That's probably the most negotiation you have to do all day.
Yeah, even if you think they're going to agree, just saying something like, hey, what do you guys, is this a good spot? Does this look good for you guys? Like, does this sound good?
Talking it out.
And if they're like, yeah, then you're like, good. And if they're like, I think I'd rather go hang it over here, you go, hey, that's totally fine. I'm going to get a couple shots of it here real fast because I really like this angle.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then you guys can take it and do whatever you want with it. Go for it.
Yeah, I feel like dress shots is like one of the odd things. Like we 90% of the time shoot that vertical because it's just one skinny thing. Video, you can't do that.
Can't do that. Yeah, absolutely. Unless you're filming vertical for like a social media teaser or something. You really can't do that. So that's true. And it does limit where you are shooting as well
Mm-hmm.
when you're shooting horizontally.
Well, in some venues, they don't. Some venues will have a hook for the dress, but it's like in a terrible spot for lighting, or there's like a spotlight of just yellow grossness right on it. And you're like, yeah, I'm not shooting it there. So then you have to take it. And then I've had, again, some videographers either, I just don't think they cared about where it was or whatever, but they're like, no, I'm going to take it here. And I'm like, okay. But then they like hog it. And I'm like, well, I'm losing time here. Like at that point, I'm like, fine, I'll just shoot it in black and white.
I think one of the unfortunate things you can sometimes get stuck with is no matter how nice you are, no matter how good of a job you do, I feel like so many videographers have been so scarred and so like trampled by so many photographers. They learn they just have to stick up for themselves and kind of push their way. And when they don't realize they've come to a wedding with someone who's perfectly reasonable, who's great to work with, like a photographer who's perfectly willing to work with you, but they're used to having to say, no, I need this, I have to do this, or else they don't get the shot.
It's almost like a PTSD.
Yeah, no, I
sure
can
it goes
relate to
both
that.
ways.
Yeah, like we have had our fair share of nightmare stories, and that's why I have a little clause in my contract of like, literally, if your videographer steps in front of me during your ceremony, I can't do anything about that. Like they have to play nice, and if they don't, it's not on me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now that I think about it, I feel like we've actually had a few times, and Emma, you probably remember this too, where we'll shoot video only for a wedding, and the photographer will come up to us and say, hey, nice to meet you guys, introduce themselves, but then go an extra mile and say, hey, I just want you guys to know we're all one big team today. I'm really excited to get these shots, do this for the couple. And I totally understand that you guys need stuff too. So I am going to make sure to leave time for you guys to have just as much time with the couple or the details or whatever. And if you ever need something, please let me know. Please say something. I don't want you to feel like I'm getting in the way. Like I am, just dictating this entire thing, and don't really care about your shots. I do. I get it. Please speak up because I don't know when you need something and what you need. A lot of photographers expect the photographer to just know when they need to get in, and they just don't, and that's fine.
Right.
But I think just setting those expectations early and having that conversation, saying, hey, let's be a team. Let's do this. I'm ready. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well,
I think it sets the tone.
So 2 years ago-ish, we started like meeting up with a videographer at the beginning of the day, and I was just like, look, I try to be very efficient with time. I have so many things in my mind. I can have poses ready to go, but I don't always, like in the moment, I'm like thinking, oh, have they gotten their shot? So I try to tell them like, I will steamroll if you let me. But if you say, hey, I need something, or hey, I have an idea, I will stop on a dime and be like, all right, your turn. Like you hop in, like, let's go. I want to play nice. If they don't speak up and if they don't like let me know they have something, then I'm just going to keep going because I don't know,
I have mixed feelings about this, and I want to discuss it a little bit because maybe it'll help me form an opinion.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, I'm thinking, you are there to do the photographer job. You're not there to be the videographer. You're not there to be their assistant. So you shouldn't have to speak up for them. But then on the other hand, I've been on the other side, and I know how great it feels for them to go, stop, pause. Hey, do you need anything before we move on? Hey, do you need anything before we go to the next spot? I want to go take them over here. Do you need anything else here? I see both sides of it. So I'm trying to decide kind of in my mind, where's the level of like responsibility and then just politeness, and then like where are those levels of where you draw the line?
We also typically kind of base it off of the videographer's personality. Like obviously you guys are super friendly, super outgoing. We've worked with some where they're very timid, very shy, and especially if they're newer.
Yeah.
We typically do more of the posing, more of the, and we try to like frame it to where we get plenty of action shots, like with them walking and everything. So there's the movement for the video.
Incorporate more movement.
Yeah.
But a lot of the newer videographers, they don't know how to pose yet. Or if they're very timid, they have the more passive personality where they shoot around us. But we know with y'all are more outgoing, friendly, and y'all know what you're doing to where, we know to give more outgoing people like that the time to get what they need.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I've noticed that. I mean, really just piggybacking off of what everybody has said, reading the personality like that is so fantastic. And I think that's even above and beyond what's almost like, if you want to say required of you, right? Like, I think that's a bonus, and that's really kind of you guys to do. I think that it's easy to have a good working relationship with somebody where you don't try to read their personality, you don't try to read their mind, but you know, eventually maybe you look over them and you say, do you have anything you want to get? But
Right.
you know, I think that going above and beyond like that is really, really kind. And you know, we've even had to work with each other on like
Yep.
how to make sure that we get everything for the couple and behave like a single unit, but also I'm photo, he's video. And there was a time where we had to just sit down and say, okay, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot here because we're really acting like we're one complete team, but
Right.
you know, maybe I have a chance to get this shot of the bride that I really want to get, and you're setting up something or you're doing whatever, and then that bride doesn't get that shot.
Right.
You know, so we had to like make a distinct shift in our minds of, you know, I'm not going to take offense if you go ahead and do a shot.
Right.
Yeah, we were almost
Because-
overcompensating.
Right.
Trying to be a
Right.
team where we were like, okay, can't do anything without the other person. And it was
Right.
causing you to like leave and go find them and come back, and by then the moment's gone.
Right.
Right.
You know, so sometimes it's just unavoidable.
Right.
So we almost had to separate ourselves a little bit and say, we're going to work as separate vendors, but
Mhm.
we're there for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and along the lines of like working with photo video teams, like not you guys, or maybe even you guys, I don't know. I've had the question of, you know, you've worked with us. You know how verbal we are with like, oh my gosh, oh, that looks perfect. Like all the
Yeah.
little filler words.
Yeah.
I say perfect too many times, whatever. I'm sorry. But we have worked with video teams that they're like silent. And then they're like, all right, it's my turn to take over. And they'll be like, yeah, just keep doing that. And then they don't say anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so awkward. Like they don't know if they're looking good. Like,
Yeah.
what would it be weird or like me overstepping for me to like feel that? Because
Not
it
at
just
all.
feels so
No.
awkward.
Not at all. I've totally have times where we're shooting something, and I usually try to be pretty verbal too. And I think
Yes.
Emily and I both do.
Mhm.
But then, you know, maybe I got in the zone and I'm really focused on the shot and I'm not really thinking. And the photographer be like, oh my gosh, you guys look so cute. Or, oh, that's so pretty. I love that shot. And it totally adds to the moment. The
Right.
couple's like, oh my gosh, thank you. And they like
Yeah.
totally freak out a little bit.
And I don't know if this is a personal thing for me, but like that would kind of encourage me a little bit too. Like, man, I put them in a good spot and they think I put them in a
True.
good spot too.
It
That looks
almost,
good.
Yeah.
They
yeah, it
think
almost felt like a
looks good.
compliment from the
Mhm.
photographer saying, hey,
Yeah.
good job. Like that looks
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
sometimes like the more timid people we've worked with, I'm like, I feel like my personality is just too much for them.
Sure.
Like I could feel like the I'm overwhelming them energy. So I'm like, is that overstepping? Like
No, I think
just,
you're totally fine.
Okay.
And I think another thing with timid personalities too is like it's good. We talked about earlier having that conversation with them ahead of time
Mhm.
and saying, hey, when you need to butt in, please. I want you to get your shots. Sometimes it's good to have that conversation so you know that basis is there, but they might not always do that. Like we had the videographer for our wedding. His name was Logan Hoffman. Awesome. Go check him out on
He did
Instagram.
amazing, but I really don't remember him.
I don't
butting in
remember
very
him
often.
speaking once, like of
Mm.
guiding us on what to do or telling us, and maybe one or two things. I
couple
can think
things.
like a couple things, but he mostly was just to the sides or behind the photographer, caught his stuff, and that's all he needed. And we love the video.
Our-
Like the
yeah.
video is awesome.
Our film looks like a movie. Like,
yeah,
it's
I
crazy.
love it. I couldn't do that. I couldn't make a film like that with that little input. I feel like I
Mhm.
just wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't have what I pictured.
Right.
But like some people can do that. But I still think it's good to have that conversation at the beginning so now they know, okay, if I want to see something, I can,
right.
but I also don't have to. They
Right.
know they've said that and they might just not, and that's okay too. But at least you know if they don't, it's not on you.
Yeah, and I
True.
think that all just goes back basically to communication.
Yeah.
Like that is the most crucial thing to both getting what you want, having a good line of communication where you don't have to worry about offending anyone by speaking up or anything like that.
Yeah. It
Mhm.
always amazes me how much either photographers or videographers can forget that like the couple paid for both of us to be here.
Right.
The couple paid for us both to be here. They want our product. And, you know, so we both have a job to do. And moving on to like my next red flag with photographers is
Yeah.
sometimes you can just tell that they think photo's more important than video today. You can kind of pick up those vibes, especially if you actually believe it. You know, some photographers do, and they think, you know, photo is more important than video, and you can it bleeds through everything, and you can
Yeah.
tell in your interactions and things like that.
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna sit here and make an opinion on which one I think is better, photo or video.
They're both very
I love them
important.
both for different reasons.
Correct.
But I think in today's day in media, it's very evident that photo and video are both very prominent
Correct.
in terms of social media and everything like that. So I just feel like the days of video being the guy in the camcorder that no one's ever going to watch is totally over. So thinking that photo is really the main or only priority of the day is just, it's gone. So it kind of amazes me when there are still people that feel that way.
Yeah. Well, and I think it also kind of goes to show like maybe the people that are more on social media, like they want that memory. And like for you guys, y'all, we said it in on part 1 of this episode for brides, but y'all watch your video from your wedding every year on your anniversary.
Right.
So like it's just like a thing that people do, and more video is being more prominent in today's society just because kids have phones and they're grown up with video. So I definitely see the value in it. And that's something that actually James and I didn't have on our wedding day. And I only have like one phone video from a guest in the back of the whole room. And I did a really cool dance with my dad. And it was like one of my favorite moments of our wedding day. And I mean, I got married to you. You're important.
Thanks.
But it's one of my favorite memories. And I only have a very low quality video from like a flip phone, like one of the original iPhones.
We're not that old. It's not a flip phone.
It was whatever the phone was.
Pink razor.
I don't know what it was, but it was an old
slide keyboard.
Oh my
yeah. Oh my gosh, that was my first phone. But no, it was like a really old, probably an old iPhone from like 2015. That's when we got married.
Yeah.
So, you know, the quality's not there, but that's all I have.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wish I had something else. Like I love our photos, but having that video would have been important to me.
Yeah, there's definitely different moments throughout the day where photo becomes more important, quote unquote, or more usable. And then there's other times where video, like the dance, you can't see everything.
Or toast. Like I can get the classic, like, you know, pictures, but like you can't hear it. Like that's, you know, the whole point.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see what your guys' opinions, including Emily's, is on this. So feel free to disagree. But I feel like we've kind of gotten to a point where, from my perspective, photo and video serve two very different purposes. I feel like photo is, because video is so prominent and there's so many things you can do with it now, is less about capturing the memory and more about capturing the art and the beauty of the day. And then the video is about capturing the actual memory of the day. Because with a video, you can go back and actually relive it. You can watch it, experience it all over again. And then photos can just evoke that kind of beauty and art and emotion that videos can't. That they really can't. So I feel like photos capture the art and the beauty of the day, and videos capture, you know, kind of the action and the memories of the day. And I feel like those are two very different purposes.
Sure, yeah.
But I'd be curious.
No, I agree with that.
I would agree with that. And then I feel like for photo too, especially, I mean, if you want to go into the high-end luxury markets, like there's most people either shoot film or they shoot something more like a medium format, or like my personal favorite is like a rangefinder. Like that is, you have all these different things, like equipment to do that with. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't feel like there's quite as much variety to get more artsy on the video side. Yeah. So therefore you can focus more on telling the story, capturing more of the moments, instead of getting necessarily as creative as you can on the photo side.
I'd say on the video side, really the only thing in that area would be like Super 8, which is like a kind of like a rising thing right now with film, and is Super 8. But that's like the only thing I can think of. And, you know, Super 8 lacks audio. There's no audio with Super 8. Whereas with like photos, you're never worried about audio anyways.
Right.
Like, it was never an issue. So it's not lacking anything that the digital whatever had. You know, with Super 8, it's artsy, but you don't get to hear anything.
Well, now going through like just the wedding day working with people, I'm thinking like some moments that are like, I don't want to say high stakes, but I mean, ceremony, we'll get there, but
big one.
like reading vows. Like for me as a photographer, I usually just take like one or two and then I just stand there.
Like
because,
first look?
Well, like
first look or at the ceremony?
Reading vows, like the bride sitting in a chair and like reading her vows, and you're like just for audio purposes, I'm guessing you need.
Yeah.
What are some like pet peeves you've had with photographers? Like it could be first look too, like moments like that.
I'd say if you have something in mind, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I'll talk about something. I mean, like from a photo standpoint, if he gets in my shot, I can crop him out
Yeah.
really easy. He can't do that to me. Like he can't, you know, if
Yeah.
I get in there and I accidentally step in front of the bride reading something, it's gone. Like
Yeah.
you know, there's some things you can do, you know, you could
Yeah.
cut to something else or whatever, but that's compromised. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
so sometimes, especially if it's something really stationary like that, where we've got a tripod there, you know, shoot over it or shoot on the
Right.
side or something like that. But like going in front of it, there's not much we can do from a
Yeah.
video standpoint to change that.
Mhm.
Whereas, you know, technically you could go get a videographer out of a photo.
Yeah.
Somehow
Or like
by,
the whole
you know,
tripod setup, you could clone stamp it out. And
yeah. I mean, you could get rid of that in a lot of ways, or you know, negotiate with us. We got zoom lenses too, if you want to have a little bit more of a wider angle on it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, negotiation is open as well.
It's a good one. I'd say another thing would be kind of like rushing into doing it and remembering that video needs a second to set up.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, like for photography, it's
Mm.
as easy as sit down, start reading the letter, and I'm going to take pictures of it.
Yeah.
But I gotta set. I'm probably gonna set a tripod up. I gotta make sure we have at least one. Hopefully, everybody at least 2 sources of audio running,
Mhm.
capturing the audio from her, making sure that's all running, make sure it's synced up, you know, all sorts of things,
Yeah.
and then being ready to go. So instead of being like, all right, let's just do this letter reading real fast. Remember that hey, we just give us 2 minutes, and it won't be that bad. But we do need a second to just set it up.
Right.
And I promise it's not our fault. If we could do it faster, we would, but we can't.
And I don't know, I don't think I've ever had anybody tell us, well, no, you don't have that time. But there's definitely like this eye roll moment of like,
Yeah.
oh, well, you have to set up. Like, you know, it's just something they don't think about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the best thing that we've found for stuff like that, whether bride, groom, whatever, reading vows and everything, is just tell them when you're like halfway through getting the like portraits, getting ready portraits or anything, fill the time so it's not just, you know, sit there waiting on things to happen.
Yeah.
Make sure
like-
they get what they need for the getting ready photos or video, whatever, but then give them a heads up, hey, we're going to move on to this next so they can get everything ready.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, and so I kind of mentioned it. We'll get to it. But here we are. Ceremony. It's like the biggest
The
thing.
big of the big.
Yeah.
And for us, like we have had nightmare stories of literally videographers stepping, like following the bride coming down the aisle type of
Oh.
situation.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the communication with photographers and videographers is like literally that's the peak of it.
Yeah.
Is that moment.
Yeah.
So what are some things from y'all's perspective, like with video specifically, that you're like, I wish photographers would just
Yeah.
stop?
I mean, I'll get into like just stop in a
Yeah.
second, but like the other one is like the word you just used and we've been using it this whole episode, which is communication, you know, like just
Yeah.
having a chat, sitting down. You know, usually
Yeah,
most
we sit down and have a
timelines
debrief usually.
most timelines have about 30 minutes of space between when you finish whatever you're doing and the start of ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually time for the bride and groom to relax. Mostly for video, for us, it's time to set up our tripods, things like that. That is time to talk. That time is there. So if people are like, "Oh, we don't have time to talk," yes, you do. You have time to, you know, communicate and say, "How do you usually? Here's how I usually do things. How do you usually do things? Let's see if we can figure out a plan." So that way, you know if they're gonna follow them down the back of the
Yeah.
aisle or something like that. But in terms of like, stop doing this. I wish you wouldn't do this.
There hasn't been a whole ton in ceremony because we usually have at least like 3 cameras on the action at all times. So there's really, have you ever really thought of a time where they were in all 3?
No, I think the big issue is, you know, no matter how many tripods you set up for video, at least when the bride's walking down the aisle, the one thing those can't get is the bride walking down the aisle. The one thing that you usually only
Right.
have one angle on
Right.
is the bride walking down the aisle because you have your tripods, but those are usually on the altar. And at that point, people are standing, so they're probably blocking the tripods anyways.
True. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
when we shoot video for a wedding, I know that my tripods, from the time people stand up to when they sit down and Emily gets a chance to go around and check them and make sure they're okay, I'm not getting anything usable. So,
Yeah.
like, I know that for like 5 minutes straight, my handheld shot is the only shot that can be used.
Mhm.
So, just kind of, I guess, knowing that and being aware of the fact that, like, this is
Yeah.
their only angle. This is all they can use of the bride walking down and the groom's face. And unlike you, who can snap a picture and you just needed one instant to look good, they need at least 3 to 5 seconds of a good angle
Right.
to get enough footage to put in the film. And then they need another 3 to 5 seconds of the groom reacting.
Yeah.
And then they probably need to come back and get another one of her closer. And it's like
Mhm.
a whole thing. So just keeping in mind that they need that's their one angle, and they need multiple seconds of a good angle.
Yeah, as well as if some videographers put something in the middle. We don't usually put a tripod in the middle. We think that it
Bless you.
is
Thank
a
you.
little bit difficult because I'm gonna ask my not my photographers, but the photographers I'm working with to not park in front of my ones on the side.
Right.
Like I'm gonna ask them not to park in front of that. I mean, walk in front of it, fine, but like
I always feel bad doing that.
Walk in front
stand
of
there
you're
for
fine. You're good.
don't stand there for a couple minutes. Like maybe like pop in and out, whatever. But like middle, we just don't want to bother with the middle because I can't expect you to not go in the middle.
Thank you.
Right. Well, and we're fine to share it if
Yeah.
there is room to share. Like, we'll even sacrifice instead of both of us to get like horizontal and vertical of like the kiss or whatever.
Yeah.
We will sacrifice one camera just to have you there. Like, we're fine to share it. But yeah, the GoPros that we've seen down in the middle, we're like, please.
No.
We haven't seen GoPro in a while, but
That's good.
Yeah, it was,
That is
it was rough.
my favorite pet peeve.
When we're shooting photo video, for the processional at least, I know we'll either do one of two things. We'll either each pick a side of the front of the aisle, and we'll so we can shoot that way and this way towards the groom. If for those of you listening and not watching, I pointed.
Yeah.
For if we're just shooting photo video.
Yeah.
We'll either shoot on opposite sides of the front of the aisle, so that way we're not in each other's way, or we'll stack. We'll choose someone to kind of be above, someone kind of be below. Because next to each other, there's just not enough room to stand next to each other.
Yeah.
Up there. I mean, technically, is there? Yes. But you're going to be standing
You don't want to be all up in the space. Yeah.
Technically, there's room. But yeah, so just making a game plan. Get in there, make a game plan. Hey, I get that you need this angle too. I think usually a good place to start is, what do you usually do for the processional? What does this usually look like? And then you can hear, okay, cool. So I usually do this. And if it already lines up, then great. Because a lot of the time it actually does, and it's not too bad. But other times you need to have a conversation. Say, okay, well, I guess something that's kind of occurring to me is I don't want photographers to get scared out of standing up for themselves too, though, in this conversation. I don't think, oh wow, I really gotta, make room for these videographers and let them do their thing. But you do too, So be willing to say, okay, well, say that guy, let's say you'd had that conversation and he was like, well, I'm gonna come down the center of the aisle behind the bride and walk all the way down with her.
The funny thing was, we actually did communicate, and that was not on the docket for that day.
That was a lovely surprise.
Yeah, that was a spur of the moment. We're just doing it. And I'm like, oh, okay, but continue.
Well, that's just a bad vendor. Having those conversations, let's say he had told you, being like, okay, well, I'm at the front getting shots of her walking down. How do you expect me to be able to do that with you behind her? Kind of what are your thoughts, because I do need that photo. And just learning to sometimes make compromises and talk about, would this be ideal? No, but is it going to work? Yeah.
No, I think honestly, it really does come down to communication. And like one of my biggest things is like, as a photographer, like I try to show up with the team, mindset. But if the video team is like just not playing nicely, it just it kills me. Like I don't know how to help them when they don't want to be helped from me,
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, some people, it's like that PTSD where they just come in so jaded. And then like, even if you come in with the best intentions, if you get off to a bad foot, sometimes it just spells trouble for the whole day,
Yeah, ironically enough, it's always, or not always, but 9 times out of 10, the bad video experiences that we have on the vendor side is always starting off with, well, I have 30 years of experience or 20 years of experience. I do this, and this. I'm like,
yeah, it's always the ones that claim to have the most experience that act like they have the least experience.
Yep.
Because it goes both ways too. We've heard that from photographers, and they end up being the worst sometimes.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, and just something else that I thought of that maybe some photographers we just don't know. We are like adding drone like photo this year for the first time.
Love that.
And it was inspired by you guys.
Oh, thank you.
But we have been trying to do that. Weddings coming up this fall. We're really excited, but for photographers, like I've had to get in the mindset of like I can't be close. Like when you need drone, that's like you set aside time for drone. So. Is there anything that like working with photo that you've come across
with drones specifically?
Yeah.
It's really hard to do when we're video only for that day.
Yeah. When we're video only, usually doesn't happen unless the couple specifically requests it, or there is we're not in a rush. Like if we're not in a rush, we can say, hey, at the end of portraits, we'll be like, hey, we're gonna take a couple drone pictures. We're all gonna need to step back a little bit. Is that okay? And they'll be like, yeah, sure. Thanks for letting us know. You know, it's one of those things that's kind of, you have to plan it out.
We've also offered photographers raws, like raw pictures from the drone as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like in that case of like, hey, we got to step back and do some drone stuff, but if you want us to take a couple pictures, they come in like a DNG format that you could edit and deliver in the gallery as well. And most of them have appreciated that.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to using the drone during the processional, we don't even bother talking to the photographer about like, get out of the way, you know, try to do this. They have way too much to focus on.
No,
like,
that's just part of it.
The drone shot of the bride walking down the aisle is just like a bonus. It's not a necessity. So it's like, if it works, great. If they happen to be in a weird spot where it didn't look good, it didn't look good.
Yeah, and in reality, you know, we were all up at the front. That was just how things were.
Well,
you know?
Right.
It's not like it's inaccurate. It's not like it's an eyesore.
Yeah, there are a lot of things I noticed, and I love this about Emily, because I even have a hard time with this mindset where, you know, someone would be like, oh, maybe this doesn't look the greatest with us here. And Emily's like, that's what happened. Like, that's how it was. It's not, I'm not in the business of over faking this.
This isn't a Hollywood movie production.
Yeah, exactly. And I've talked with her about that when we watch movies, and I'm like watching all these different angles, and I'm like, wow, that looks so great. Do you know how many times I'd have to refilm something with a bride to get it to look like that?
Yeah.
Where I could cut from this angle to that angle to that. You can't. And that's just, that's the limitations of a wedding day.
Yeah, it's the nature of a wedding day. And, you know, sometimes there's details the couples plan that you're not super passionate about, but it's there and it's representative of them, and they're just as important as we are.
Yeah.
More important than we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as people at the base level, just as important as we are. And it's just as important as we would want our photographers to prioritize our day.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the kiss.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about the kiss. I've been thinking about that for the last like 5 minutes. What would you say? I mean, when we do photo video, I feel like the kiss and the processional are the two things they always struggle the most with.
Yes.
But I never understand like why it has to be so complicated. Like, can't you just go stand next to each other and shoot the kiss?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's what we do. We'll usually when they're doing rings, we know they're about to wrap up, you know, rings or a unity
toward
ceremony.
the end,
Doing a unity ceremony. And we'll be like, all right, we'll kind of look at each other and be like, it's time.
Like, you ready to go down?
We'll go sit about halfway down the aisle. And then if she'll look at me and she'll go, hey, can we get a little bit closer? And I'll be like, yeah, let's get a little bit closer. And we'll kind of scoot up together. And then we just stand there and we shoot the kiss and we walk backwards as they walk backwards.
It's funny. And I'll demonstrate like for the video, and I'll kind of describe. Sometimes I'm so glad we're married because I'm like leaning over. Leaning over him.
Like your belly button to hip type action.
Usually
like my
we're
chest is in his armpit. Like trying to not sorry.
No, you're good.
Trying to not get like a little bit of a side angle on the kiss, because sometimes you look at it and you're like, this looks crooked, but it's because I was off to the side just a little bit because I'm trying to share this
transform.
It's like hard.
Usually we're like stacked, so I'm kneeling, she's vertical, and I'll get vertical, she'll get horizontal. And then
where do you fit a videographer in?
Oh, just usually
that's if it's just us.
Oh, okay.
Usually we'll just kind of like both be off center just a slight bit, so that I know that I can still change it and transform to look like it's centered.
Right.
And then
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know you could do that. I'm not the photographer, so I didn't even know that was something you could do.
You can tweak it within
just
reason.
a little bit.
That's cool. I had no idea.
plus or minus 10 is my general rule.
That's awesome.
And because apparently I shoot crooked all the time.
This woman cannot take a straight picture.
Look, my thing is you take the like magazine beautifully composed photos and I get the moments, okay? I get the and you get the wow. Okay, that's like our thing.
That's a good dynamic. I love it.
Dynamic. Yeah. I've had second shooters who can't shoot straight to save their lives.
Well, that'd be me. So.
Hey, there's a straighten tool for a reason.
Thank you.
Oftentimes it's just the click of a button.
Thank you.
But yeah, so I don't know. I feel like the processional is always way harder than it has to be. Get in there, stand next to each other, you know, squeeze in, say, hey, squeeze in a little bit.
We're friends.
Time, you know?
Like we both smell like, BO right now, but let's get all cozy up.
Time to get in cozy and then we'll back up, you know?
Yep.
I feel like it can be pretty straightforward. As
Mhm.
long as you, can we say it together?
Communicate.
Communicate.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I feel like that is really the common theme. But yeah, you just play nice, you know?
Yeah.
Just be a decent human being.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
That's-
It's crazy how that works.
Yeah, literally. So we are diving into receptions now.
Yeah.
There's probably not a whole lot because by that time of day, like at least for us with photo, we're like the hard part is over.
Yeah.
We are just partying. Like what is something that would be helpful, like communication wise, for photo and video? Like, is it the dances, the
Yeah.
speeches? Like, what is it?
Definitely dances and speeches are the big one. I love, we've talked about this. Yeah, for photographers, you hit the reception. It's like, okay, we're pretty much cruising for the rest of the night.
Yep.
For videographers, not until speeches and, dances are over until dancing starts. That's when they get to relax.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have tripods, obviously, and usually our goal is to have multiple shots. But I would say that's the time where it's most important to try to be aware of their tripod shots, not just not planting in front of them, but also not planting in the shot, across the room
Yeah.
and things like that.
I feel like I'm in the problem there. I just don't think about it. And then I see it. I'm like, oh, I need to move.
You know what? Like,
Sorry.
we work together and I work with him all the freaking time, but I still do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's gonna
It's
happen.
so hard.
Don't expect to be perfect.
It's so hard.
But,
I mean,
like-
often like they're pointed at an angle towards the action, and I can stand in the middle of them. So like,
Right.
the tripods are on my left and right, and that's like the perfect angle.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's not like an angle that looks good in the photos, then I have to walk around and get that angle for a couple shots and then walk away.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Yeah, you just know that you're not gonna be able to avoid standing in the middle. Like, it's gonna happen. It just is. But talking to them and saying, hey, just wanted to see where you're putting your tripods, where you would prefer me not to plant and land. You can
Right.
walk anywhere, but you don't plant somewhere. So just being aware of that and knowing that, they really need, especially for speeches, like they need that consistent shot nonstop
Speeches.
of especially the person giving the speech.
Right.
Is definitely a
Speeches
big
I'm
one.
really careful of when
Yeah.
you're doing speeches because, again, I could crop him out or
Yeah.
the tripod out pretty easily, but he can't necessarily cut me out of it.
Not
Yeah.
only that, but there's only so many photos you can get of speeches
Yeah.
before it gets like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
how many do you need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, there's that big thing now of like with photos, there's kind of a big trend of like cropping in really tight and letting it be grainy and like having that grainy photo and,
Mhm.
cropping in really tight. Definitely, there's nothing like that with video, especially
Right,
when it
yeah.
comes to like speeches and dances. So just, having that communication. And then I'd say the other thing for receptions is sunset photos. Like,
Yeah.
make sure you're all together heading out to do that. Don't leave to do that without your videographers.
Yeah.
that would
I
be
will say,
bad.
like,
That's happened to us.
in like a, if the sun was going down, there was something else happening. I've almost forgotten of like, oh crap, we need to get the DJ or not the DJ, the video team. Like, we need to tell the DJ to like wait an extra minute because they need to their photos. Like, communication that way.
Yeah.
I feel like I have struggled over the years, like trying to remember to be intentional because if you're in like reception mode with all of your
Yeah.
tripod and stuff, like you may have to take your camera off said tripod and then that's a process. And
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
all the things.
Honestly, like the biggest or one of the bigger things that has helped us out with communication for video is beginning of the day swap numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
and like I know obviously ceremony and stuff. I know someone doesn't ever remember to turn off or do not disturb after ceremony. But
Sorry.
for the most of the day, it's good to be in communication that way in case you are in a
Yeah.
different spot, especially
Yeah.
if it's a one person video team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that I know would never happen, but I love for those of you listening that don't know this, Emily and James use the walkie-talkie on their Apple Watches,
We try.
and I love watching them do it. And if we could just get all of photo video team like on walkie-talkies,
Yes.
like I would just love be like, hey, we're headed out for sunset photos. Psh, like, and that's
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and
Great.
just like I would love that, and even
Over.
better with like earpieces.
Mhm.
So that like let's say you're
Ooh.
somewhere and you're filming something with audio, they can hear, hey, we're gonna go do this really fast, and it doesn't interrupt the audio of the video or something
Yep.
like that.
Ooh.
I would love that, but I know that's way too high maintenance to become the
Once-
norm.
Once they start making walkie-talkies more compact, I feel like that would be realistic. But
Yeah.
they're still too
You
bulky
can even
right
bring
now.
them and
And
be
my,
like, hey,
I was gonna say,
let's
my
use
type
these.
A personality, I'm gonna be like, hey, here's your walkie-talkie for the day, and it might be like, wow, you were too much. Like, probably will be like,
I actually
"Ooh."
don't know how I'd feel. I'd either be like, yo, this is awesome, or be like, what is
I think-
wrong with her?
I think it may strike me at first like, what who does she think she is? Well, actually, she's doing this to help me.
I would be like, here's your walkie-talkie. Okay, your C and your D. Like, blah, 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 this is it. And I feel like I would go too much.
You want to make it really cute? Get like a label printer and learn their names beforehand, and like print their names, put it on the walkie-talkie. Be like, here's your personalized walkie-talkie for the day.
I could do that because I have a label maker.
She's like, I already love it.
I do actually. I think that's really cool. No, but I mean, yeah, like we really, if the venue has signal, we do use the walkie-talkies a lot.
I love that.
But yeah, no, that is, it makes me think like maybe we should do that, James.
Maybe we should do that.
Although I could also be looked at as the weirdo that's like, oh, don't work with her. She makes you wear an earpiece. Like, you know, like
makes you look like you're in the Secret Service all day or something like that.
Okay. Makes you or offers it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
right.
You can, if you want, get ones for you and James. So that way they already know it's happening.
True.
Say, hey, just as a heads up, we have walkie-talkies just so we can get in touch with each other. If you want, we have 2 extra. You're free to take one if you want. You definitely don't have to.
Yeah.
And then that way they're like, oh, cool. Like she's trying to bring me into this thing to help us stay in the same
She's trying to help
rather than control me and be like, here's the walkie-talkie, use it.
I feel like people, some of the people we've worked with in the past would be like, yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah. But like framing it like, you don't have to, but if you want, we have some extras just so you know.
Yeah, no, that's
Just an idea.
Yeah. I like that.
You gotta get the good ones though, like the long range ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for the venues that have like the grooms getting ready like halfway across the property. There's one place that we have a wedding coming up in December, and you literally have to go through a creek to get to the groom's cottage.
It is like, on the other side of the property. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Very true. Well, yeah. Well, the only other thing on wedding day that's like just very difficult, in my opinion, and I think you probably know where I'm going with this, is the exit.
Yep.
Most of the time, if the sparklers or like whatever the exit is can last more than like...
Do it twice.
Yeah, like photo do it by themselves, and then we're done, and then y'all do it.
Do it twice.
Yeah,
do it twice.
it just...
And if anything, as the photographer, because just naturally, I do think the photographer takes more of a leadership role in the day. Say something to the couple, like as the photographer. Say, if you know that that's probably the plan, if you're the ones to tell them, they're usually gonna be very trusting of that and be like, hey, just as a heads up, we got these awesome long sparklers. They're gonna last a really long time. What's really cool about that is we're gonna be able to actually do it once for photo and once for video, so you guys get the best shots possible.
Right.
So we'll probably go down, do it once, and send you back. We'll just do it again. You guys can go enjoy your night and have a cool wedding night.
Right.
So talking to the couple, I think, is the one time that you really want to get the couple involved too on that communication.
Right.
So that they know.
Well, and I guess this is an interesting question I just thought of. For video sake, would it be better for y'all to go first to get the more genuine reaction of the crowd? Or, because photo, it's very stagnant, like it's all going to look the same. What are your thoughts?
You're free to give your thoughts. I feel like there's too much variety. Like we've had times where the first time is the best. We've had times where the second time they're more hype. They're like, all right, let's do it again, but like really bring it, you know? And they're like, the crowd goes nuts and they're like kissing and like, it's great. So I don't know. I feel like it's just too hard to set a yes, let them do it first, or yes, let them do it second.
I don't know if I really would have much of a preference.
As long as I get my turn. But there's also, we shoot photo video. There's also times where, one, there's short sparklers, or two, it just kind of works out this way where we'll run down side by side, and then after we'll have known there's time to do it twice. So we'll look at each other and go, "You good?" And we'll be like, "Yeah, I'm good." We'll be like, "All right, you're good. Don't have to do it again."
Yeah, go get out of here.
Yeah,
yeah. We typically have to do it twice because of the way that we shoot.
Sure, especially with two shooters.
Yeah, Emily will actually be following behind them with carrying a flash, and
trying
I'll
not
be
to
in
get
front.
caught on fire.
Yeah. But
the goal.
It gives it a nice backlight, and that's how we prefer to do the sparkler.
Sure. Yeah, then I would say for people, if you're shooting with two shooters, absolutely. Do it twice. Let them do their thing. I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Em?
Yeah.
Well, like on the dance floor, like kind of backtracking, I guess, in the reception.
Yeah.
What I love, like working with you guys, like y'all get into it where y'all are like a part of it. It's almost like y'all are one of the dancers. And for me, like it's a lot easier to like feel like I can go places. Whereas some videographers will like put a tripod up and that's all they do during the open dance floor. And I'm like, I feel like I'm forced to stay on like this one side, or like
tripod for dancing.
Yeah, and
really
ask how many times we've seen that tripod knocked over by a drunk guest
Oh
too.
yeah.
I
Wait,
was gonna
does
say,
it really
maybe
happen
let's
that often where they put tripods up for
let's
dancing?
go back to
You'd be
red flags for
surprised.
videographers.
Like,
It's
give
a
me a percent.
tripod during dancing.
Yeah.
Percentage, I think probably 30 to 40%.
I was gonna say 3 to 4
Whoa.
out of 10. Yeah.
I've
Oh,
never
that's
seen that.
accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That is. Okay, well, there's your next red flag for videographers if they're putting up a tripod for dancing.
Yeah.
I mean, something works for everybody. Yeah, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I haven't really looked at tripod footage for dancing, but I can't imagine.
Emily's face right now is exactly my feeling.
I don't know. I mean, maybe if I'm talking to videographers, don't do that because you're just asking for your equipment to get damaged. Like, you are asking for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to what you were saying about like kind of being in part of the party. My goal is to eventually crowd surf at least one wedding. I think that we should.
Oh my gosh.
And just
awesome
That is
goal.
amazing.
I think that would be good. I think that'd be really fun.
That is awesome.
We'll
Oh
get
my
there.
gosh.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Well, and my other, like, I guess I don't want to say pet peeve, but like it's annoying when you have like all the lights
Yep.
flashing, everything, and then the video team has like these massive spotlights. It's just like,
Yeah.
you know.
So I'm not gonna put too much talk in one way or the other towards that. You know us, we actually don't use external lighting. I love our cameras do really well in low light.
Mm-hmm.
You know us, we like to put that little light on top of our camera. It gets kind of that like, very paparazzi look.
Right.
And also I just love capturing the space as it was lit. But I will tell you, when you get into the higher paying market, you're probably looking at 60 to 80% of videographers are using lighting just because they don't have flash. Flash just isn't a thing. And so they kind of have to use lighting. So as you climb the ranks, I don't know what the nicest way to say is get used to it.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be around. It's not
Yeah.
something that's probably gonna go away. Especially as you climb
It's
the
definitely
ranks.
not an abnormal thing.
Yeah.
If it's lit well, it doesn't bother us.
Sure.
The thing that gets me though is just raw light, no diffusion at all,
Yeah.
and
It literally is a
one
spotlight.
like a mono light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
we need at least two to make it a little more even.
I think the things you got to talk about is
Yeah.
quality of lights and then also placement, like you just said, not having it right on the edge of the dance floor
Yep.
where like people are dodging it,
Yep.
Yeah.
I got, we're talking put it in the edge of the room, put it way in the edges
Yeah.
and let it do its thing. But
Yeah.
I agree. Videographers, if you're listening, just, don't be obnoxious with it. Don't just like put it right on the edge of the dance floor.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like, I don't do videos, so like I don't know the whole
Yeah.
purpose. I guess I get why.
Yeah, it'd be like, imagine shooting a reception with no flash.
Yeah.
And just being told it's obnoxious. Don't use your flash. It'd be like, well, I need it.
Yeah, I mean, it has happened, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Sony is great with the dual ISO,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that like if you don't shoot Sony, I mean, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, it's the other reason we don't use lights is we travel so much. Like, I can't imagine traveling with all those
Flying with
lights. Like,
lights would be
flying with those
Oh my
things.
gosh,
We fly so much for it's like no.
we
like
flew one time with our big C-stand case for doing a course filming somewhere. Never again.
mhm.
Dragging
Yep.
that 120-pound bag through the airport, paying the overweight fees and the
Yep.
oversized fees. Never.
Mhm. Yep.
No,
Not
no.
a chance.
We're going down to the Florida for something in January.
Yep.
We're driving.
Yep. I love
Literally.
It's
it.
like 14 hours.
We,
I don't
we
care.
drive to a lot of our weddings actually for partially for that reason,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean when we fly, it's like we have the biggest suitcase we can and we like put 3 tripods in it and that's what we limit ourselves to, it's not we don't try to do anything more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. I'm just thinking about it now.
Yeah,
It's
it's
terrible.
miserable.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Cool.
Well, talking about like post wedding,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like sending photos.
Yeah.
As a videographer, like, I mean, and like photography too. When it comes to like behind the scenes images, like, what is something that would actually, like, let's say we want to work with the same videographer
Sure.
again. Like, what is something that we could do?
Kind of encourage that.
Yeah, like we want to be friends, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah, absolutely.
this is what we could do for you. Like, let's work together again.
Yeah, a couple of things I can think of. When you're doing a post about the day and you're tagging all the vendors, being sure to remember to tag the videographer too.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that just kind of occurred to me that we just kind of get lucky with because we do photo video. But if you want, even saying, hey, here's some shots you can use as thumbnails for some of your stuff, because it's a lot harder to make a grid on Instagram look really aesthetic and really nice when you don't have good photos to use for that. It's usually just a little blurry still from the video that they get to use. So having like photos, thumbnails that you're like, hey, if you want to use these as a thumbnail for a couple of video posts, and you're very clear, you're not saying it for photo posts,
Well, yeah.
But if you're like, if you want to use this for a couple thumbnails for like video posts, feel free,
Yeah.
And if you want, you'd be perfectly within your reason to say, we just ask that you, tag us in the caption and say, hey, thumbnail by blank,
Yeah, that's a good idea. I never thought of that
something
one.
small you could do.
Yeah.
There. Can you think of anything else?
Especially if you do sneak peeks really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one to send out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Can you think of anything else kind of in post?
Not particularly at the moment, but I mean, BTS is gonna mean something to a lot of people.
Yeah, BTS photos. You talked about that a little bit.
Right. We don't use BTS ourselves a lot. But I know a lot of people do make use of BTS.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that would put a good taste in somebody's mouth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I've even tried like telling people like, hey, like if you send me a video, like I will put it in my blog post. And like
I love that. That's great.
So, but I haven't gotten like a lot of response from that too.
Sure.
So I'm like, I just don't know if I'm like just being overbearing.
I bet they forget.
I bet you they forget.
Because
100%.
I'm pretty sure you've said that to us, and I'm pretty sure we haven't sent you a video, and it's definitely because we've forgotten.
There you go. That a girl.
When it's my people, I just go get it.
Yeah, you can absolutely go get it. But I mean,
some people don't have websites or anything, so I can't go get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I'm like,
I think another thing to consider, and even if it doesn't end up doing much, but just saying it, I think we talked a little bit about how unfortunately still video is booked last. So saying something like, hey, we'd love to put you on our preferred vendor list. We had a great time working with you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Hey, we loved working with you, and we always have brides asking for videographers. We'd love to put you on your vendor list. And even if it doesn't amount to anything, just that conversation creates such a good relationship of like, wow, they want to bring me work. That's so cool, I think that's a good one that you can always do to kind of seal that relationship, even at the end of the wedding day, not even after the wedding day.
Yeah.
Saying goodbye, packing up. Hey, that was really great today. We'd love to add you to our list. Brides are always looking for videographers. You'll see the way their face changes. Oh yeah, absolutely. So, what?
I don't know what noise you just made.
I do that sometimes.
It's okay.
I make weird noises, especially on like the wedding day. I'll do things and then she'll just kind of look at me like side eye and be like, what was that?
And when you're editing too, I can hear you.
Yeah. When I edit
prompting
videos, I make the face that either the people are making or I want them to make. It's like you'll watch me editing and I'll be like and then I'll like make faces that they're making in the video. Yeah.
Which if you're listening, I was gonna say, make sure you go to YouTube and watch that segment because that was amazing.
You want to see the face.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Well, and I really appreciate like you guys talking about it, especially because y'all literally do both and just seeing it from both sides. It's not like we're trying to be against each other. It's, we really do have to work together to get that done. So with you guys and your business, I want to know, because I know from a conversation we actually had at a wedding in the past that y'all had a little something up your sleeve and I'm dying to hear about it. So tell me, like, I know very little. So tell me what you want me to know about this new amazingness that you have planned.
Absolutely. I get excited just talking about it. But so recently we've been talking about how we want to get into the retreat space and like workshops, retreats, and kind of hosting things with other creators. So we actually had, and you know what? I'm actually going to let Emily introduce it a little bit.
Gosh.
Because it was actually Emily's idea. Emily is the total mastermind behind this. She's the one who came up with it, and I'm obsessed with the idea. So I think it's fair that she introduces it. I can take over a little bit too, don't worry. But I just want you to kind of tell everybody because it was your idea.
Do you want me to
amazing.
go through the backstory?
Do whatever you want to do, hon.
I like that answer.
Don't get used to it.
Yeah, we're only 3 years in. Give it.
I don't know. So there was just kind of this nagging thing in my mind of I could go to 4 styled shoots in a year and spend a crazy amount of money doing different travel things and whatever. Or we could try to put a bunch of different destinations into one.
Yeah. And then we actually were planning a vacation for our friends for this winter. And we were talking
With our friends.
With our friends, yeah.
Okay.
And we were going to go on a little cruise with our friends. And we were sitting there talking about the vacation. And Emily looks at me and she goes,
what if we did it on a cruise? What if we did a retreat on a cruise?
On a cruise.
Mind blown.
Thus, the idea was born to host a retreat on a cruise ship out in Europe, out in the Mediterranean Sea, where we do shoots at all of the different cities that we port at. So that way, creators can get content from several different cities in several different destinations, all within like a week and a half.
Yeah.
I just have chills. Like I cannot even tell you. And when y'all first said like I think maybe it was the beginning of your idea when you told us at the wedding.
Yeah.
You were like, you can't say anything. And I'm like, like I was so hyped up. Like, I am just so excited. Like
now you can scream it from the rooftops.
I am like, this is literally the coolest idea.
Thank
you.
Like I am so excited.
We are super excited
to be a part of it one day.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we'll tell you a little bit about it. So it'll be next August, August 4th to the 12th. It's going to be out in the Mediterranean Sea, and we're going to be going to Spain, France, and Europe for the trip.
Italy.
And Spain, France, and Italy, not and Europe. Spain, France,
just every country,
just all of them.
Spain, France, and all of Europe.
Yep. Spain, France, and Italy are going to be our 3 destinations. So we'll actually meet and start in Barcelona, and we'll shoot in Barcelona. And then
we're gonna meet the night.
Yeah,
before.
we're actually all gonna meet the 4th. So the cruise departs on the 5th. So we'll all meet in Barcelona on the 4th. Little welcome party, say hi to everybody. And then the morning of the 5th, we'll probably do like a sunrise shoot in Barcelona and do like a wedding shoot in Barcelona. And then we'll go to the cruise and get on the cruise ship, and everybody will have their rooms. We're doing like a cool group rate package thing. So we'll all be on the same hall together, and we'll all be kind of in the same area and everything. And then our next destination will be Valencia, Spain, will be our next stop. And then after that, I believe either before or after that, I can't remember, we're going to do an actual a couple shoot on the cruise ship during one of the off days. So during one of the days that we're cruising and we don't actually port in a country, we're going to have a couple with us on the ship. And we're going to do like a swimsuit shoot on the cruise, and then potentially maybe also like a flash formal shoot with like the elevators and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
On the cruise ship. And then we'll go to Valencia, Spain. And then after that, we'll go to Nice, France, which is just like the south of France. That's where, kind of all those cool villas and stuff are. And then we'll actually have an off day in Ajaccio, France, which is actually an island owned by France right off the coast of France, where we'll have an off day where we're actually going to go do a group excursion. We're all going to go do stuff together and have like a cool off day together. And then we will go to Tuscany, Italy, and go do a wedding in Tuscany. And then we will do a wedding in Portofino, and then we will close it out in Rome. So we will, we're going to do an engagement shoot and a wedding shoot in Rome as well.
Wow. Yeah. James, how hyped are you? You always want to go to Italy.
That's Scotland and then Italy. Those are my 2 countries I've always wanted to go to.
I don't blame you. We did a wedding on the Amalfi Coast earlier this year in June, and we fell in love.
I want to go back
with
as soon
Italy.
as possible.
And so when we were planning this, and we knew like, okay, one of the stops has to be Italy. Like we gotta get back to Italy. We want to share this with everybody. It was so fun being out there. So we knew Italy had to be a part of it. So it'll actually be 9 days total. It'll be, I think, 8 shoots between all 9 days, because we're gonna do Barcelona, Valencia, the cruise, Nice, Portofino, Tuscany, 2 in Rome. Yeah, so we're gonna have 8 shoots throughout the retreat, which we're super excited about. We will be shooting with actual models. Hopefully, most of which will be real couples too. We love having that kind of that energy and that dynamic between a real couple.
Right.
We'll be actually renting out some designer dresses for the retreat, and our goal for a lot of the shoots is to actually rent out full real venues. so that we're not just shooting in public and we're not just kind of like finding
The
small,
streets.
the streets, small little
Yeah.
city places. So we'll actually have the area to ourselves. We'll be shooting, full venues.
Yep.
Like a true styled shoot.
Yeah, where we'll have
Yeah.
florists coming in and reception setups and all those things. So goal is for it to be as luxury of an experience as possible.
Yeah.
For all of our attendees. So
Wow. Well, and for me, like, I will say I have like a little bit of anxiety because I've never been on a cruise.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
like, I guess for me, like, do you think I would still be okay? Like,
Yeah,
being nervous
totally.
about
Yeah.
a cruise? Okay.
Absolutely. I think it'd be
Totally.
great. This will actually be Emily's first time on a cruise
Yeah,
too.
it'll be my first time, and in my opinion, I think it's the perfect first cruise for somebody
Yeah.
because I mean, I'm pretty sure it only has like
It only
one
has
cruising day.
One cruising day. We're at sea.
Yeah.
The rest of the
One
time,
day you're on the boat the whole time. The rest of the time we're porting in different places.
Yeah.
We're looking at different stuff,
Mhm.
And so I think it's a perfect beginner's cruise.
it will actually be on land for a majority of the, a large part of the cruise because of all the time we're spending at the shoots and stuff. And we will have evenings and mornings and some things like that with some other activities that we'll talk about. But yeah, I think even if you've never been on a cruise before, totally an option and totally a cool first time to do it too.
Yeah. Well, in all the cities you've mentioned, I know we're doing like styled shoots
Yeah.
at each place. Is there, free time? Like,
Yeah.
let's say I've always wanted to go to like this one spot in Rome, like
Yeah.
see the Colosseums maybe.
Sure.
Would I have time to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the goal is for everybody to have time to explore at the end of every port. We can't promise that because it depends on like how far the venue is from the port. We are
Yeah.
going
Right.
to have like private coach buses taking us to and from the ship to
Oh,
all the
wow,
venues.
yeah.
So we won't be renting cabs or Ubers or anything like that. We're all going to be together in coach buses going to and from the shoots. And our goal is to get back at a time where you would still have a few hours to look around and check out the area and things like that. So our goal is for that in pretty much every location. And then obviously we end in Rome. So if you want to stay an evening, if you want to stay a night, stay a day,
Right.
you can do that. And the same thing with Barcelona on the front end too.
Okay.
You can come a little early. So our
Yeah.
goal is for everybody to have time in every city that we
Yeah,
port at.
yeah.
It's just we can't guarantee how much and what that's going to look like.
And with that, our mantra is don't miss the boat.
Don't
Yeah.
miss the yeah. We are gonna have lucky us. We hired actually a planner out in Europe who we love. Her name's Marie. She's awesome, and she's helping us arrange things with all the venues and the florists and all the models and everything. And she's gonna be very on top of things, including making sure we have everybody checked in at the end of the night, so we know everybody's on the ship.
Yep.
And
She'll be
everybody
handling
and things
all of
all
that.
that kind of attendance and things like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, and I guess for me, like just talking about all of this, one thing that has been kind of like I don't want to say a hindrance, but like with styled shoots and stuff, like James shoots with me. He's my second shooter.
Yeah.
He's also my husband.
Yeah.
And
Really?
so is it?
Fun fact.
Wow.
Those of you listening, if you hadn't realized.
Oh yeah, apparently. No, but if I wanted to, like, even let's say like James doesn't work with me, would he still be able to come? Like, I want this to be like, I guess I'm imagining this to be like this epic
Right.
thing for my business, but
Yeah.
also something to experience with my husband. So tell me about that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will actually have 3 different ticket options for everybody. We'll have an individual ticket, just coming on your own. We anybody who doesn't have someone to come with, we don't discourage you. It's gonna be a total blast. You know, tons of networking, especially with some special guests that we'll talk about in a little bit. But the other 2 types of tickets we'll have is a +1 ticket, which is for someone who wants to bring their spouse who isn't a shooter. You know, someone who they want to come. They can't imagine going on a Mediterranean cruise in Europe without their spouse. So your spouse will be included and allowed to come. They just won't be at the shoots. They won't have
Right.
we won't have space for them at the shoots. But you'll have a room with your spouse. Everything else that comes with your ticket will for your spouse too. So that includes the group excursion. We're gonna have complimentary Wi-Fi and beverage packages for everybody on the cruise, including, and we're even gonna have a group theme party night. We're on the cruise. We're all gonna have
That's
kind of like a group
awesome.
party night together.
I think
And-
Royal Caribbean calls it a cocktail reception.
Yeah, something like that. But your spouse is welcome to come to all of those things. So
Yeah.
they will be involved in everything, just not the shoots themselves.
Mhm.
And then third, we will have a husband wife, kind of photo video duo ticket too. Not just photo video, but even husband wife teams who they want to come
Right.
together, but they don't want to pay the price of 2 individual tickets. There'll be a little bit of a discount for people who come together as a couple.
That's awesome. Because
as
like I
well.
said, everything that I've ever looked into, I mean, there are like other like retreat type things or
Yeah.
even like destination like Europe, but they cost like 7 to 10 grand for just me. And
Right.
then I've reached out, like my husband's second shooter, like would we have a discount because I want the content.
Yeah.
And they always say like, no, it's double. So I mean, I'm not gonna fish out like what 20 grand for
Yeah.
both of us to go over there, like
15 to 20.
yeah, like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do that. So I think that's really cool y'all are doing that.
Thanks.
When y'all mentioned photo and video,
Yes.
is this not just for photographers?
No, it is
No.
not. This is a photo plus video, guy, girl, whatever you call yourself kind of retreat. So everybody's welcome. We love to have you all there, and it's for everybody. So
That's awesome.
And piggybacking off what we were talking about earlier on in this podcast, we want to help photographers and videographers learn how to get along
yeah.
and
Yeah.
learn what each other needs and learn to leave that space for each other. I think it's going to be really productive.
Yeah, our goal is to have a pretty even split of photographers and videographers in attendance for the retreat. And, we haven't really decided for sure yet if we're going to structure. We do know we're going to have like maybe 2 stations at the venues where, you're either with the couple or you're photographing the reception space or the venue. And we haven't decided if it's going to be completely split photo and video or if we might mix those teams up a little bit
Okay.
and kind of give them a chance to interact with each other. That's actually something we're open to kind of discussing with the attendees.
Yeah.
We're going to have a Facebook group, obviously, for everybody who gets a ticket and put them all in a big community. And we'll actually probably do a couple like little polls and see, hey, would you prefer to kind of take some time to work on learning to work together or, just kind of keep it separate, and we'll kind of play it by ear with that.
Well, and like speaking to that, for me, like if I'm investing in this and it's obviously like, I mean, James has never been out of the country. But for us, like to invest in this, like I'm going to want the images,
Yeah.
and the thought of sharing with like the less than par videographers that I've worked with in the past, I want to like die a little inside of like sharing time with someone like that. Like it's kind of giving me like a little anxiety. Like, I guess, what are you thinking about like sharing the space? Like truly, like, is there going to be enough time?
Yes, absolutely. We will have plenty of time at the venues. We're going to spend hours there.
We'll make sure we have time.
Make sure you have time with the models, with the space, with the venue, everything like that. We really want everybody to get the most out of these these content, these styled shoots. And that's part of why we're not 100% guaranteeing so much time in different cities is the shoots are really the priority here, and making sure you get that content to build your portfolio. I love the idea of, in just a week and a half, being able to shove France, Italy, Spain, and then cities all within your portfolio. I feel like diversifying your portfolio that fast is going to be awesome. We want to make sure you're really able to do that. And then you even mentioned kind of working with more subpar videographers, on another note, we talked about how this is for photographers and videographers, but we wouldn't say it's for beginners. It's not probably a good move for people who are just getting into weddings. This is something new for them. This is for the people who have been doing weddings for a little while. They want to build their portfolio. They want to expand to international weddings, luxury weddings.
Yeah, if you want to travel, this is for you, but it is not for beginners.
Yeah, so we also are with that hoping that brings in a certain level of, experience with creators who have been doing this for a while, and they've nurtured that photographer videographer relationship and have some experience with that.
Well, and are you limiting the number of photographers and video? Like, I know you said you're about even, but like the total number of people.
Right.
Yeah,
so we're only going to, you want to go ahead. I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, we are absolutely limiting the people that can be there. We're really aiming for 20 attendees is around where we're shooting for, right?
Yeah, we're capping it at 20 tickets. A big thing we've talked about that not only is the content and the portfolio a really big priority to us, we are so big on community. Like community is so big to us. We've been to retreats in the past, and our favorite moments are the ones where you're just sitting around the bonfire, chatting, sharing stories, sharing ideas. And that's why this will be less education based and more, we're calling it like education through community, where
like networking.
Where you're really just, you have the freedom to sit down, chat, and ask as many questions as you want and just discuss with each other. And that, I feel like we can't do that when we have 40, 50 people there. And, kind of along with that community and learn by community, we do have 2 awesome VIP guests that we're super excited about. we have a photo VIP guest and a video VIP guest. Kirsten Jones Photography from out in Utah is going to be our photography VIP guest, and then Runaway Vows will be our video VIP guest. Also out in Utah, actually, ironically.
That's awesome.
They'll be coming. We love them. They're going to be at all the shoots with us. They're going to be on the cruise with us, and they're going to be happy to answer any questions you guys have while we're shooting. And we will also be doing a Q&A session in a conference room on the boat with them.
Wow.
Where it'll be just kind of like an open Q&A to bring your questions, have discussion.
And us too.
And us, we'll be there. We'll be there to answer
we'll
questions
be in the
too.
panel.
We'll be in the panel. And the goal there was just like, we figured, we could have education based around one topic or two topics, but we'd rather be able to really get into the nitty gritty and answer the questions that are really burning on people's minds, and kind of cover as many topics as possible. And we thought like more of a Q&A session would be a more appropriate way to accomplish that.
Yeah, and we also just didn't want that super formal, there's a speaker up at front, you're taking notes. Like, we didn't want that to be the vibe that we were going for. We wanted something a little bit more laid back.
Yeah.
Well, and we've actually been to I don't really know what to call it. It's not really a conference, but it's like a retreat. It's an educational retreat called Conquer Live, and it's similar to like what you just said of like you literally just are in a room with these educators, and it's like a very chill environment, and having that space with fellow people, like to get to know them and kind of break down barriers to then ask questions. That is like a huge thing. So the fact that y'all are doing this in a destination place, like it's just blowing my mind right now. Like I'm so excited.
And what I love is we'll be doing the Q&A thing kind of like partway through the cruise too.
Yeah.
So, kind of questions are going to come up while you're shooting, and there's going to be factors to destination that you didn't really think about that come into play when we're doing this. So, having the chance to ask some of those questions in the environment while you're there, I think is going to be really cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another question I had was, I have a different editing style than you guys.
Yes.
I'm more true to life, brighter, bolder colors, and you guys are like on the moodier side of things.
Yin and yang.
Yes. So for me, like, would it make sense for me and my style to come, and then also someone with your style, and we shoot the same thing? Like, are the aesthetics of the shoots going to be like,
I'd say absolutely. So first of all, the overall aesthetic for all these shoots is going to be very luxury, kind of, destination luxury is what we're going for here. Kind of very Vogue, very high end. Okay. This, like we said, is for people who kind of want to break into that higher end industry or that destination industry. But with that, I think our goal with the styling of the shoots is to keep them pretty middle ground on a lot of those things. So just kind of what the photos look like depends on how you shoot it. So that way it's very open to lighter, brighter, airier photographers, darker, moodier photographers. All of our venues will have lots of green, lots of, but then also lots of brown, because there's villas out in Europe, and there's very much that architectural look out there.
Yeah,
and then you have Portofino with
European.
And you have the Portofino. You have all the rainbow, the multicolor buildings and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So our goal is to make it very much, it is what you make of it. So that way it doesn't really limit based on style. Would you agree with that, Emily?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, the style overall, it's going to be very European. I mean, you're looking for those neutrals, those tans, those sort of things. That's what you're going out to Europe for.
Right. Okay. And I assume like travel on the boat, like everything else said, like the Wi-Fi package is included in everything. I'm assuming we're getting our own tickets to get there. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our goal for the only thing that's not really included within these tickets is your flight in and your flight out, and then your travel from the airport to where we're all meeting up.
Right.
All you have to do is get yourself out there, and our goal is to take care of pretty much everything. We'll have your housing, we'll have your food and beverages covered, we'll have meals at the shoots catered for all the shooters since we're going to be there for so long. Mm-hmm. We're going to have that group excursion covered. We're going to have the party night covered. We're going to have everything covered. So really the only other thing I can think of would be if we do end up having some of that extra time we're hoping in the countries. If you decide you want to go do something, go spend a little money, great, do that.
Right.
It's not on us.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, James, do you have any questions?
So we are starting to offer drone photography this year. What are regulations over there? Because I have no idea what laws are over in Europe or anything. I'm assuming probably not.
Yeah. Unfortunately, drone laws are a pretty big no-no for Americans out in Europe. We're doing a little bit more research over the next couple of weeks with like the venues and specifically Royal Caribbean. I think the biggest issue you face there is the way a European cruise works is you actually go through security and immigration and customs as you get onto the ship, and you never have to go through it again as you're getting out into each of the countries, which is great because you only go through security once, but that is a security check that has to pass the requirements of all 3 countries. So, and a lot of times when you're traveling to Europe, a drone is not really going to go work. You know, sometimes you can get away with it if you're going as like a hobbyist or something like that. But when we're in a group of 25 to 30, you know, photographers and videographers, I think it's going to be pretty clear what we're doing there. So unfortunately, I think drones are going to be a big no-no for most.
Yeah. As much as I would love to include the drones, I think they would be really, really fun. This is really probably for, get your feet wet out in the international destinations, and hopefully you can go back with a real booking and do it out there.
I also think,
but I 100% recommend looking up and doing the research on all the legalities on getting drones over there, being able to fly drones over there. I am absolutely not like endorsing doing that. But the goal is to get yourself to be able to be booked out there so you can go and do it yourself.
I'm pretty sure there are also issues with bringing drones on Royal Caribbean because they don't want people flying their drone around the ship in the middle of the ocean. You know,
can't imagine why.
You know, you might hit some people bathing out on the deck or, you know, polluting the ocean and crashing into the water, things like that. So I'm pretty sure, despite not just the countries, but the ship itself, it would be a big no-no for that as well.
Are there any other gear restrictions that you know of?
Right. So first of all, luckily, none of the attendees will need work visas for the event because they're not working there. They're paying to be there. Right. And so luckily they won't need any work visa score. Don't have to worry about that. We are still getting numbers on the final amounts of bodies you're allowed into each of those countries, but we are suggesting everybody to pack light. You know, not only is it, we want to be careful with customs and regulations, but also got to carry that stuff around, you know, and there's only so much you're going to be able to do with these venues. You got to fly with all this stuff. You got to bring it onto the ship. You got to leave. You got to have room in your room for it all. The last thing you want is overloading yourself with equipment that you're just not going to need.
Yeah.
So we're suggesting 1 to 2 bodies per person, and then, you know, a couple lenses with that as well.
Yeah, and what we'll also do when we get closer to time, we'll send out a packing list. Here's what to bring. Here's what not to bring.
Yeah.
You know, all sorts of stuff. So that you're on top of what you can and can't have or should and shouldn't have, really.
Yeah.
My type A self thanks you for that.
I got you.
Absolutely. We are here to help.
And I guess the only other question that I feel like people would probably ask is, obviously this is going to cost pretty penny and y'all will fill us in on all the things with that later.
Yeah.
But is there going to be like a payment plan that goes along with this? Like that we can kind of, you know, pay a little, or is it like all up front?
Absolutely. There's going to be a payment plan.
100%.
There's going to be a couple options for sure.
Yeah. One thing we were talking about with our friend is that premium prices require a premium experience.
Right.
So while we know that this is going to not be super cheap, we're going to make, our goal is to make it well worth everybody's while.
Yeah.
And make it, you know, the value just be so much further than just what it costs and just bring in so many different things. But because of that, we don't want money to be the reason people can't come. We know that things get tight. We know, especially as self-employed people, cash flow is like the most annoying thing on the planet ever. So we will 1,000% have payment plans. We'll have a few lined out in the inquiry form, and we'll have kind of a space for, hey, you need something custom, you need something specific, reach out, let us know. Let's talk about it. Let's make something happen. Because like we said, the last thing is we want is people to be like, yeah, I could come and I could even afford it, but I just can't fork that all out front, or I can't do it in just 2 payments, you know?
Right.
Not an issue at all. That is absolutely something we want to do.
Well, and I guess I'll finish it up by saying, when can I sign up for this? Because I need this in my life. I've needed it since April.
Absolutely. So for I don't know when this is airing exactly, I don't remember, but we will be announcing the cruise on, what is it, September? Yeah, September 25th. And tickets will be going live October, I believe, 9th or 10th. It depends on if you hop on our website, there will be a link that you can use to get in line and get on the short list for tickets. And you'll actually get access to the tickets 24 hours before everybody else.
Okay.
So tickets will be going live. I think it's like the 9th or the 10th. I'm actually going to double check to make sure everybody has the right date because I want them to have that information. Yep. The early access will have access on October 9th, and then full to everybody else will be October 10th. And we can't promise it'll be available on October 10th because we never know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
It's super exciting. So yeah.
That's amazing. Well, we're going to include all the information in the show notes. They can find you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, go book this for themselves. Maybe you'll find James and I on the cruise as well.
There you go. Yeah, we love it. And we love it'll kind of be like a vacation too for everybody.
Yeah.
Because we're all going to get to kind of hang out. You'll be on a cruise. With that, we'll have food and drinks and kind of hanging out. We love the ship too. They got like water slides and a bunch of like comedy shows, and I think they have an ice rink on something on the ship too.
They do.
Okay.
Yep. So all sorts of stuff. It's gonna be really cool.
Awesome.
That's amazing. Well, thank y'all so much for sharing all of the exciting news.
Thank
I'm
you for
beyond
having
excited
us.
for you guys. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming on the show, and we'll have to have you on again to maybe talk about maybe the first round of cruise.
There we go.
Oh man. Well, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you, and it's always a pleasure just hanging out with y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it. Hope to see you guys all there.